Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I serve a little bit of penance. You see, to date, I have done a video review of over 550 movies, and I stand by my opinion of most all of them. There are a few, however, that just looking back through the lens of time and hindsight, they just never really sat well with me. It's not necessarily that I disagree with my stance at that time, it's just that something about them doesn't sit right. Maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for that particular type of subgenre, or maybe I was just being a grumpy little bitch. But every once in a while, I will look back on one of my videos and it will just splinter in my brain. It just doesn't seem appropriate. Now, I made myself a promise a long while back that I would always be looking forward, never backwards. What's done is done, so let it be written, so let it be rotted. However, I have not been able to get over some of that splintering in my brain. It's just something that has been irritating me, and I finally decided to bite the bullet and break yet another one of my self-promises. So today, join me as I revisit and take another look at the 2017 movie, Revenge. So to prepare for this, I don't want to necessarily just come at this from a place of, I was wrong, I just want to revisit it. Maybe I was right, maybe I do stand by these words, but I want to at least put it to bed. So yesterday I made sure to watch both the movie and my old review of it, and I gotta say, I was way off base. It seems like the crux of my issue that I now take umbrage with is that the duality of the tones of the movie counteracted one another and led to the low score that I gave it. Most notably, the notion that this was a movie that was very gritty, very visceral, very grounded in reality, dirt under the fingernails, ants crawling on the wounds type deal. But at the same time, it was dealing with the amount of copious blood and gore and mayhem with a frivolity that betrayed the gritty premise of the film. Well, I honestly think that that still holds true, but I don't really see a problem with it this time around. At the phase I was at when I was reviewing this movie at my YouTube channel, I kind of made a point to break down every category of my scoring system and address them individually throughout the course of the video. I've since kind of made it a little bit looser than that and just tally up the scores at the end, but the thing that I really want to convey more than anything else is that I will often have opinions of the film, which I will discuss verbally, but it shouldn't always necessarily reflect the score. I do try to kind of talk about what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and that kind of has to do with my personal opinion, my sensibilities, and so forth, but I do try to make the score a little bit more objective than that. Even if a movie doesn't work for me personally, I still try to break it down on an objective level, analyze it, and score it appropriately. And I absolutely failed in that measure for this movie. The odd duality of the tones was present, and it was a bit odd. But this is a revenge movie. It's in the title. Revenge horror is kind of its own little subcategory, and there is a marvelous amount of thrill involved, as well as an often very visceral action that causes the protagonist to want to take revenge. So the notion of going over the top with blood and gore and mayhem and so on isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, it's a contrast of tones, but contrasting tones can often work very well, just like contrasting flavors. Salty and sour, bacon and chocolate chips, it can work. So I think the most egregious errors that I made in my score was both in the intent and the technical categories. The intent of the film should be what the filmmakers were trying to achieve, not what I interpret as a level of just blanket success or failure, and I think that that was where I was coming from on that particular day. The filmmakers were clearly trying to make a revenge movie, and I think in that regard they succeeded wildly. And as far as the technical goes, I had no right giving it the score that I did, and I am happy to retract that. The technical category in my scoring system should simply be how well the film was executed on a technical level. Be that special effects, be that camera work, be that sound design, be that prop mastering, be that editing, whatever it takes on a technical level to make the film come to screen, how well did they achieve that? And I was so hung up on the fine details of this film that I gave it an absolutely inappropriate low technical score. The fact of the matter is, this was remarkably well done on a technical filmmaking level. The camera work was spot on, the editing was very tight, Everything about this on a technical level worked to the mastery of the overall film. I still do maintain that the plot was fairly simplistic, although I did pick up on some imagery this time around that I just kind of missed the forest for the trees on the first watch. And there were some logical issues that I had trouble turning my brain off for that were still present on the second watch, like trying to cauterize a wound with an aluminum can, one of the worst conducting metals ever. Not to mention, it was only cauterized in the front, not the back, and even if the back happened off camera, you can't really cauterize your intestines. But again, it's a revenge movie. It's supposed to be over the top. It's supposed to be not necessarily silly. I mentioned in my early review that you can't exactly have the honking clown nose thing. I don't think it was necessarily going for that, but it didn't mind reveling in the revenge aspect of the film. And you know what? Hats off to it for that. So the question for me kind of becomes, if I'm doing a revisit video, what now? I've already given it a score. I've already given it a video. It's already gotten its analytics. What do I do? Well, I've given this a fair amount of thought, and I don't want to be approaching these revisits with frivolity. I want to give these a good deal of thought and a good deal of time, and to that end, I'm going to be treating this quite seriously. So, in that spirit, here's what I'm going to do. I am taking down the original video entirely. Any previous links that I have made to it will instead be replaced by the links to this video. Any score that I posted publicly on my website will be replaced with this new score. The old video is now dead and buried deep beneath the earth where it belongs. So thank you for joining me as I attempt to right some wrongs and correct some sins of the past. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.